Hello, everybody. Pastor Andy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. Good to be with you today. It's a beautiful Wednesday, and I hope it is wherever you are. I was not able to be with you yesterday, as I shared on my post. I just felt like it was necessary. There are people. Again, I don't consider myself anybody important at all. I don't. I'm never about putting me over. It's not about that at all. Uh, but there are those who enjoy this broadcast and listen to it on a daily basis, and I felt somewhat of an obligation to put that disclaimer out that I was just unable to bring the message yesterday. Uh, I lost a very close personal friend yesterday, uh, unexpectedly, and it seems like for the last 4 months, that's been a continual pattern. My sister, and it just began to unravel after that. Friend after friend after friend. I don't say that for any empathy, sympathy, or anything else. It's just reality. Uh, the difficulty of that is just the grief, the human part of that. Because again, these are people that you love, these are people that you care about, and they're no longer here. I would later write, and of course, I stress this in every message that I give, whether it's in this format with Making It Simple, whether it's on some of my other formats, I'm asking the truth, how does this affect me, or whether it's preaching on Sunday morning. The message is always central that tomorrow is not promised. And the only way to be prepared for that, friends, is just be ready. My friend that stepped into eternity yesterday, thankfully, was ready for that journey. They had settled, as an old hymn writer would once say, settled the old account. They were at peace with God. That looks different for a lot of people, the explanation of that. Friends, just hear my heart. That's not about having reached perfection. My friend that died had flaws just like all of us, was far from perfect, just like I am, just like all of you are. And that's not to be mean or judgmental or anything. That's just true. To say that we're without flaw, even the Bible says that if you say that, you're a liar, because that's just not true. But many have the misconception that the idea of eternity, heaven, hell, whatever labels you want to put on that stuff, life eternal, life here, the afterlife, and all those other things, is all about somehow having reached a different plane of life in the sense of perfection and I finally made it. It's not that at all. We're a work in progress until we take that last breath. And we do not achieve perfection or sanctity or anything else, sainthood or anything else, until we're not here, until we're in the presence of God. What matters is what we do in that process. Are we making an effort? Are we trying to be a better person? Are we caring about one another? How do we treat our neighbors? What kind of level of respect are we building in our communities? And are we making a difference with our words and our actions? Many today do not. This kind of moves us into the direction of the message I want to bring today from the book of John, chapter 8. We've been studying as Jesus speaks to the leadership of that time. His speech to them was not critical in the means of being critiquey of what they did or how they did it. It wasn't being judgmental. It was pointing out the error of their ways in the sense of you are in a position to change lives and you're not doing it. You should think about that. You should correct that. Because again, there is a consequence if you do not. And that's not a threat. That's reality. You've heard that in many of my messages. When the sign says, beware of dog, that's exactly what it means. Oh, that won't happen to me. And then you get bit. He says here today, they're making a mockery because he had told them, where I'm going, you can't come. What he meant by that was, you're not ready. Your hearts won't allow you to see the message that I have for you. You've become hard hearted. You've become so stubborn and positioned in your ways, you can't see what I'm telling you. So it's not that it's unavailable to you, but you're not willing to receive the help that is offered. As I closed off on the last time that we were together, which was on Monday, he was telling them, you're lost, but you're not willing to be found. That is a heart condition, friends. That's an issue there. So we follow up that today in verse 22 and on beyond. I want to share just a little bit as we look at how this plays out in life today. And it's all about attitude. It's all about what we consider, what we think, what controls our thinking, because eventually that begins to control our heart and the things that come out of us. So they said, well, what's he going to do? Kill himself? That's what they said. What's he going to do? Kill himself? Because he said, you go to a place that we can't come. So, and again, this is somewhat mockery, sarcasm, whatever you want to label it as, basically saying, how could we not go where he's going? I mean, where is he headed to? I mean, that's not possible. He can't go somewhere we can't go. They were not looking at this from a spiritual context. They were looking at totally from a physical context of meaning, well, if you go to Tampa, I can go. If you go to Charlotte, I can go. You can't escape me if I really want to find you. But that's not what he was talking about. And again, this speaks to the condition of their heart, because they were so blinded by their intentions, which was to remove him, to get rid of him. They were willing to go to all levels to do that. And ultimately they would, by hook or crook, in the cover of night or whatever. But the arrogance was an expression of what was in their heart. And Jesus knew that. And that's why they were angered more and more and more by what he said to them, because they didn't want to be called out. They didn't want to hear the truth. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Many today do not want to hear the truth. And in fact, in some formats, when you begin to speak the truth, nowadays you'll get thrown off. You'll get fact checked, or you'll get a little moniker thing put on your saying that what you said wasn't correct or true. That's the world that we're living in, because the truth, again, will make one free. But we have to understand there are those, in particular the enemy himself, does not want that freedom to happen. And so Jesus here is trying to set them free through their heart, through their spirit, trying to set their minds free, trying to get them to focus back on the things that are pure and lovely and of good report. He's trying to get them to see the error of their ways, not in a mean way, or not in a, I want to say, ha ha, goody goody, I made you look kind of way. No, it wasn't that at all. It was, you are a person of influence. Somebody listens to you. I take that very serious as a teacher. When people listen, you have to be right. And if you're not, you have to be willing to say, you know what, I made a mistake. I messed up. What I said wasn't correct. So we see here, he tells them in the next verse, you are from beneath. I am from above. You are of this world, and I'm not. Now, was he saying in this bold and powerful statement, was he saying to them, I'm better than you? No, not at all. He's trying to get them to recognize where his focus was. His focus was on things to deal with the Father. Theirs was not. Theirs was all about themselves. That's why he said, you're from beneath. You're of the ways of the world, which say, I want it my way, and I want it right now, and I'll accept nothing else. And I'm not looking for any spiritual guidance. I'm not looking for any other answers, because I've got it all figured out. I don't need any help. I don't need that. That's in essence what they were saying. That was their whole problem. And that was heart-driven and an exposure of a heart problem, a real serious heart problem. And that's why he says to them, I'm from above and you are beneath, meaning you are lost, you are aimless, directionless, you are without God because you don't know God. You've moved into a completely and utterly selfish realm of thought, and your actions are showing that. You're not even trying to hide it anymore. It's the same thing with evil intent, wicked intent, wrong intent. Those that are bound by that meaning that they've succumbed to that, they've given themselves over to that. That's their directive, that's their narrative. They eventually are no longer able to, nor even have the desire to hide it anymore. That was the problem of Sodom and Gomorrah. Many people miss the concept of that story. That story is not just about immorality and naughtiness. While there were plenty of that going on, no doubt about it, debauchery and just every kind of wrongdoing that could possibly be wrong was going on. However, the understanding of that story, the narrative of that, was how that moved into the realm of dangerous. And the way that it moved into the realm of dangerous was not only was that the actions of the people, they were no longer willing to, nor did they care who knew. They didn't try to hide it anymore. When it says that those that came and followed the two angels that were trying to go into Lot's house, and they wanted to rape them, okay? There's no nice way to put that. They wanted to assault them publicly in the street. This was not an act of shame. This was not an act of secrecy. They didn't care. They had become so overwhelmed with, I want it my way and I'm going to have it my way. I don't care who knows. That's where we are right now, friends. Many for a long time had evil and wicked intentions. They always tried to cover it up. They always did it somewhere where nobody knew about it, or they could try to hide it under the cover of night or through this or through that. That doesn't happen anymore. It's out in wide open, right in front of our face on national television or on broadcasts like this one or anywhere. People just don't care anymore. Most especially those in high positions. They have no shame. And I'm not calling out any one particular individual or one particular party or affiliation or anything else. That is broad spectrum. That is across the board. We've moved into that mindset now. And this is exactly what Christ is calling these people out on. He's saying, wait a minute. You are from below. I am from above. In other words, my priorities are different than yours. I aim to please God. That's my goal. That's my whole entire existence, is to please the Father. You claim to represent God. However, you don't live for Him. You don't act like anything that He's asked you to do. And you've moved to the place where you can't even say that you know Him because you don't have any association with that at all. Now, of course, we have to understand they did not take that well. They didn't like that rebuke. But it wasn't mean-spirited. It was honest. And we have an old saying in our Western culture, the truth hurts. That's true. We don't want to hear it. You've heard me use the mirror illustration before. You stand in front of that mirror. It is what it is. You don't have to like it. You can try to do something about it. Get the gym, get a diet, go get some cosmetic surgery. I mean, and I don't say that to be cruel or mean or even comical. I mean, whatever your desire is to fix what you're seeing is just that. But looking at it, you can't deny that it's there. You may not like it. It may even make you mad, but it's still real. This is what the Lord was trying to get them to understand. This is your heart. I am trying to show you an X-ray, an MRI, an imagery, whatever. I want you to see what is dwelling within this heart. Because I want better for you than that. I don't want you to live that way. I love you. And I love you enough to tell you the truth. But they weren't willing to receive that truth. There's no difference now. When he's saying, I am from above, again, he's not speaking of I'm better than you, I'm higher than you. We're not talking about literal and figurative here as far as height and depth and everything else, or even position. He's saying, I have a desire to serve God. I have the light of God. I am the light of the world. I've shared this with you openly. I am from above. In other words, the spiritual aspect is the most important because that is our founding, that is our grounding, that is our foundation, our staple, our pole that we can lean on. And when we don't have that, then we're beginning to depend on other things. We get back to the central verse of the Bible, Psalm 118 and verse 8. It is better to trust in God than it is to place faith in man. There's a reason that that verse is there. And so the Lord here is saying to them, I'm offering you a lifeline. I'm offering you all the help you will ever need, and yet you continue to refuse to accept it because you've determined among yourselves and to yourselves you don't need it. You got it all figured out. And so they continued on, not listening. He made that clear. And then he said to them, therefore, you shall die in your sins, because if you don't believe that I am He, in other words, if you don't believe that I am who I told you that I was, if you don't accept this, he says, you shall die in your sins. Now, was this a proclamation of gloom and doom? No. Was this a closing of the door and saying, you'll never get a chance? Absolutely not. That's not what he's saying at all. What he's saying is if you continue down this pathway, it will not end well. And you can deny that all you want. You can continue to reach over that fence that clearly and boldly has the sign up that tells you that dog will bite you. But you can continue to ignore that. You can continue to inch your fingers over that fence, through the hole or over the top, however you're going to make the entry, and say, oh, well, I'm not going to pay that any attention. I'm going to do it my way. You go right ahead, but I'm letting you know you will get bit. It's not going to end the way that you want it to just because you've said that's how it's going to go. And so what he was telling them is, you are lost. You don't know where you're going. It's bad enough to not know where you are, but you don't know where you're going. You've not settled things because you've lost your foundation. You've lost your grounding. And if you remain there, if you refuse me, and he's specifically getting personal here. He's saying, if you refuse me, because remember, and as we'll see it in a little while in chapter 14, once we get that far, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes into the Father but by me. Very, very clear. He's saying here, if you refuse me, if you refuse the truth, you'll die right where you are. That death may be physical. That death absolutely can be spiritual. There's two different components to that. We haven't got into that discussion yet, but we will. But he's letting them know, if you continue down this pathway, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. See, many people get upset today about all the things going on in the world. Why doesn't God stop it? He's never stopped it. He's intervened in certain things by all means when things go too far. Sodom and Gomorrah, we go back to that. But it was not without warning. If you do not cut this out in X amount of days, this is what's going to happen. That's not what this warning was. This warning was, if you remain in this, it is not going to be beneficial for you. And it absolutely could cost you everything, including your very soul. We have to understand that. That was not a threat. That was a correction. Because the Bible tells us that God corrects those that He loves. See, friends, He loves us enough to tell us the truth. And He was telling them, there is no way for you to come in the condition that you are right now. I can't. Because you're not ready to receive this help. You're drowning, and yet you refuse the life raft. You're drowning, yet you refuse the rope or the branch that's been tossed to you. And you say, nope, I'm going to do it my way or bust. We see it all the time. He's saying to them, an offer of help has been given in my proclamation to you. It's been veiled with truth. In other words, it's available. You can continue where you are and die there, or you can receive me and have eternal life. Which one do you want? Which one do you desire? Because I can save you. I can save you. But if you reject that, you're going to die. There's no clearer advice, friends. None. As I opened up this broadcast today, I expressed my grief over the loss of another friend, but also the peace that comes with knowing where their heart was with Christ, because she said yes to Jesus. Other friends who have passed away, I can't say that about, because I don't know. There's some that I do and some that I don't. I had that peace with my sister. I had that peace with my friend Dale. I have my peace with my friend who died yesterday. There's a few others in between I can't say that about, because I don't know where they were in that part of their life, what they had settled. I don't know where all of you are today, but I do know this. This same offer of help, this same offer of life is available. If you've not made that decision today, it's very simple. Yes, Lord, I accept your offer. I want this living bread that you have offered me. I'll take it. Help me grow into the person you want me to be. Not the one that I am. Not the one I've decided I need to be, but the one you've asked me to be. I'll trust you with my life. It's that simple. There's nothing complicated about it. If that still isn't clear, or you have issues, as I always make the proclamation, contact me. I have people contact me all the time. I don't mind. In fact, I get encouraged by that people listen and get activated on that. I want to see lives changed. I'm not promising you that you'll never have another problem, because that would be a lie. I'm not promising you that every day is going to be rainbows and ice cream, because that's not true either. But what I can tell you is you will be walking with one that will never leave you. You'll be walking with one that will give you an answer. It may not be the one you want, but it will always be the one that you need. And there's where the difference is. That's what a true friend does. That's what a true one that cares about you does. They tell you what you need to hear. This is what Jesus was doing with this group. They needed to hear the truth, and they absolutely, unequivocally did not want to hear it. And so, in essence, they were the petulant 5-year-old that put their fingers in their ears and said, I'm not listening, I'm not listening, I'm not listening. And that's really shameful. And we'll see how that continues to unveil as we look at verse 25 tomorrow, and maybe a little beyond. But God bless you. Thank you for your prayers, your comments, your support, and the outpouring of concern over my inability to be with you yesterday. You have no idea how much that means to me and the connection that we have. So God bless you. Thank you for letting me back and having an opportunity to be in your life today. I pray that something that we've said, go back and read these passages, friends, and look at the messaging there. Jesus is just laying it out so beautiful and so clear that he wants to save your life now and forever. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing when we begin to understand the real context of what is being said. But God bless you. I hope you have a phenomenal, phenomenal rest of the day. And Lord willing, I'll be back with you tomorrow. Take care.